We're saved too. We're saved too.
Welcome back to We're Saved Too. As you've seen last week, we reintroduced ourselves, but this week we're kind of giving the gist of everything, and so basically we're going to go through a podcast, little sub-segments, and then we're going to get to the topic of the day. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to go through is God Speaks, the word that has come to us, whether it's through devotion or something our pastors have said or something that God is truly working on us with, just to exhort it back to you. And then we'll go to Aisha Educates, something that she is going through, something that she wants to educate you on. If you have any opinions or, any comments, you can just give us feedback. Most definitely we'll talk about it if need be. If any of you have questions or concerns or just want to chime in, you most definitely can. And then we'll go over to Blues Reviews, whether it's a restaurant, a movie, maybe a new song, maybe a new album, something that we're going to be going over as far as, something that we all like. And of course, we're going to give our own opinion and, those things. And then we got a flight attendant on our hands. Soaring high in the sky. Yes, she is. But just some of the adventures that she goes on from a day to day, how to get from place to place and how to have fun somewhere, not necessarily needing to spend all your time in a nightclub or spend all your money, because we're saved and we're not stupid. We don't want to be broke. So she will most definitely help us get those frugal tips in different cities as far as like public transportation, what's good, what's not, some of these reviews. And so you just chime in and let us know. All right, on to the first topic. God speaks. And so, God speaks. Man, the Lord has been truly working on me with a lot of stuff. And so something that he's been pointing out to me most definitely in my word as I'm going through Ezra and Nehemiah is obedience is better. And not just obedience in the sense of I'm listening to the word, but I take action behind it. As far as Ezra went, the Lord spoke, he acted. Nehemiah, the Lord spoke and he acted. And they all realized that the down part of everything that they were going through was because they never took action. They weren't following the decrees and the laws and the commands of the Old Testament. And, it's like really crazy when, the Lord speaks to us and it's like, how many times do I have to fall? Like, how much pain do I have to endure in order to just listen?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like, have you guys been through stuff? And I'm just like, even with my education, I'm just like, my God, like, it's really crazy. Like, I'm going to school to be a RN, but before I wanted to be a doctor. And it's like, oh, the Lord spoke to me, I'm going to be a doctor. Everyone's calling me Dr. Silky. And then come to find out, I could be a nurse practitioner and still be a doctor. And people were trying to get me on this path a long time ago. That was probably the Lord speaking, but me being too hard-headed and the pain that I had to endure. But if I would have only listened.
Right.
Like, you guys have any experiences?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it was maybe a few years ago, as I was reading through the Bible, like we call God the Father all the time. Like, oh, he's Daddy God, he's Abba Father, and we call him Dad, but in reality, like, God is a true parent. Like, and every year as I'm reading through the Bible, God reveals like a different, he reveals a different part of himself to me. And that year he revealed to me like, Aisha, no, I'm a real true parent. Because as a parent, if you tell your kid to do something and they do not do it, there's a consequence that happens. And if you aren't, If you're not following through with that consequence, that's a whole nother topic. But at the end of the day, like as a parent, if you set the rules and the kid breaks the rules, there's usually a consequence. Jimmy, if you don't come home by curfew, I'm taking your phone. He doesn't come home by curfew, you take his phone. God was very clear. Like none of the stuff that the Israelites went through, it wasn't by accident. He told them exactly what he wanted them to do, and they sat there and said, you'll see it in the Bible. They said, like God, and they accepted it. Like they literally said, like, God, we'll do whatever you say. We'll do whatever Moses says. Moses will follow you no matter what, because we don't want to hear the voice of God, because if we hear it again, we'll die. Like he literally, and they agreed. And then all of a sudden Moses is doing what y'all just told him y'all want him to do. And then we go off and disobey. And so for me, it's constant, like as the children of God, he told you what he wanted you to do. He told you what the consequences would be. You go do it anyway. And then we're all saying, God is just some guy in the sky who wants to kill us all. And I'm like, no, he told them what he wanted. And none of it was a surprise. Like he made it very clear, and they did what they wanted to do, and they kept ramming that head. And then the compassion of God is what gets me every time, because for me, I do not have unmerited favor.
Or
like,
my patience
have
is
that.
low. If I tell you to do something and
you
you don't want to do it,
it,
I just be like, chop it up to the game.
But that's the
That's why I'm like that.
And so even with my students, like if I tell you something over and over and over and over, and then you keep coming back crying like, oh God save us, oh God save us, I'm not gonna lie, like luckily I'm not God, because y'all would have a couple thousand of y'all would have died first before I came to save you. But every time they cried out, here he comes with a new judge, with a new savior, and then a couple years later, like usually maybe it's like the next generation, the generation after that, all of a sudden, what God? And for me, what's crazy is y'all say what God and y'all go do whatever y'all want to do, but then as soon as trouble comes, ooh, let's call on the real God. So you
know it's just the one real God.
Exactly. So you know what you're doing, and you're consciously choosing not to until you get too close to the fire, and now you're asking God to save you, and he saves you every time, and then we turn around and say he's the big guy in this guy trying to kill us. It's crazy.
What do you guys think? You have any opinions on that? Like,
not yours particularly, because I don't know if I want to be like going off of y'all stuff unless I had something to go with, but I don't got nothing to go with it. So I'm like,
but that's what he's been speaking to me. Just obedience is better, and how many times do I have to fall before? Like, why do I have to fall? Yeah. Why can't I just listen and that be my testimony?
Because the world tells us not to do this. The
world
tells us
that and that's true. The world always tells you, oh, you need to bump your head so you'll learn. But then it's like, well, what if I never bump my head?
I don't think you have to, but sometimes the bump in the head is almost like necessary if that's what's needed for you to get it. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like the point I was saying that I don't think it's necessary to fall, but for some individuals, I think it's pertinent in their walk. Because I mean, some of us are just hard-headed, and we don't necessarily trust what you're saying or what your testimony is. I mean, coming into it sometimes, especially in a walk, I know for me, it was, okay, God is this, God is that. Okay, I'm scared of this guy. But it still took time to build a relationship and get to a point of trusting. And I'm still in a place where I'm still learning to trust. So when people come to me and say, you know, X, Y, Z, for me, it's like, I don't necessarily trust everything you're saying. And you still, although you say you've been through a similar thing that I have done, you still have not, or you're still not walking in my shoes. And sometimes for me, or where I am, it is, well, let me try it.
So it's just trusting in God.
Yeah.
And so even in hearing that you shouldn't do it, you still feel like it's pertinent that you do it. So I think it's because I've not listened so many times that I'm just like,
but you haven't. That's not everyone's thing.
Well, but what she's saying is like, why do I need
a battle
so when you
to
have
show that if
I'm not saying you need it.
Well, no, what she's saying is like
some people.
Well, like if you when you have a daughter, right, and you tell your daughter you don't want to do this, you don't want to get involved with boys, soul ties, blah blah blah. Should your daughter take your word and obey you? Or should she say, no, Mom, I'm going to go bump my head and do because I feel, that's what she's talking about. Like, I'm giving you the advice and I'm telling you a forefront. And they're saying, there's a difference in I'm in it and you're trying to tell me how to get out of it and I'm trying to figure my own way out versus there's a possibility you're going to take this door. And I'm like, daughter, son, whoever, you might not want to do that because I've done it.
These are the consequences.
These are the
But
consequences.
even
Should
so,
they go do
my
it
question
either?
is,
I'm not saying that
not-
they should, and I'm not saying that they have to. Obedience. I do agree with you. Obedience is better, but not everyone understands that until they go through it.
true, but how many times do you have to go through it?
And
And
so
that's
we're talking about how many times.
Yes.
So some it's just
well, so some yes, now some things I do agree with. Like, okay, if I'm learning and I'm growing, and you're gonna tell me that I'm not supposed to do this, and it's like, okay. But how many times do I need to keep falling? And that's what I noticed, like reading just the Old Testament in general.
But you don't need to fall. But that's
They continue. It was like
what I love about Judges.
continuous.
Because I'm in Judges, and to see
Mhm.
these different, just to see these. I'm on the first the lady judge. What's her name again? Deborah.
Mhm.
I'm on her, and
And my daughter.
I feel like, oh, yours is a 2 year?
So she is slowing down to the 2 year.
Oh, mine's a 3 year. I was like, how you get to judge? I just finished Deuteronomy.
so I'm on Judges, and I'm like you see my Bible now. I'm literally breaking it down. I want to know the details, everything behind each judge.
Mhm.
And so, forgive me if I don't remember names, because I've never been good with names, but I'm working on it. But just to know like their backgrounds and to know like how the Israelites, they would go through this long time like without God, and then be under depression with this particular king or whoever is ruling, and then you have this judge who would come in, and then they would basically save them from this king, and then the time like in this they would be under, like one was 18 years, and then 80 years they were free. So it was always more for every. When I broke it down for each time, it was always for every 5 years, or for every 1 year is 5 years he gave back.
Oh, okay.
So, and it was like 4.5 to 5 years, and for me it was just like, oh my goodness, like although over and over again, generation after generation, although these stories have been told, the history. Right. History is there, and God in his mercy, being so gracious, it didn't matter as long as you came and humbled yourself and said, Lord, I understand where I am and I need you. Mm-hmm. And they would, and for years they will stay on the right path. But then there's always that group who comes out.
And that's another thing. That's like a whole topic in itself, because it's like you got to be mindful who you're hanging around. Like
but for me, it's not just a single person though. Like the nation of Israel was a nation. They weren't just like the city. They weren't just like the west side of Vegas. This was like hundreds of thousands of people, and they as a nation were walking away from God. So for me, it's like.
But even so, like if you just look at like
one person, because
Chronicles
he's not saying every person.
But it has to be a considerable amount.
It's a considerable amount. But for them to bring someone out,
but
that means there's people in that group who is living right.
But if you look at Chronicles and Kings, and you see like the kings that did evil in the Lord's sight, or even the ones that were pleasing in the Lord's sight, and he would tell you, he was like, oh, they did away with the Asherah poles and the idols, but they didn't get rid of all of them. Not all the kings got rid of all of them. So it was still that lingering remnant of that there, that it was like, oh, it's still there. And the Bible says, what, a little bit of leaven, it messes up all up. Yeah. And so it's like, if I'm not purifying myself of all of that, and maybe that's why we fall, because we're not all the way purified, and you're not
forsake all.
Yeah.
So that was God speaks. That was God speaks. I'm sorry. And so I hope you guys got something from that.
As we go along.
I hope you guys got something from that. Like, obedience is better, and it's all about maturity. Your walk is about maturity in anything you do, and there's a process. first newborn Christians, you know, it's about maturity. And if you can't handle certain things, it's about revelation in the end. And so now we're transitioning into blues review.
So they told me what we were talking about. I didn't necessarily pick this.
What are you talking about? What you want to talk about?
No, it's cool though. We're gonna talk about Lion King. That's fine.
Dun dun dun.
I didn't really have that many.
It was a lot of mixed reviews.
Okay, so I don't cry. Let me preface by saying that. But I gotta admit, because I watch it by myself.
No, I think like you don't cry much.
I rarely cry. How about that? Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. I purpose not to cry. I would rather say that. Mm-hmm. I don't like crying. Not to say anything about those who do. It's your own revelation. I went and seen it. I was by myself. I just decided to go see it when I could because trying to go with everybody, it was sold out a lot of times and stuff like that. But it was, to me, it was just like the movie. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. I think it came out in 94.
I'm sorry. Keep talking.
See? That's why I be wanting to have stuff.
Go ahead, look it up.
But, it's too late now. But when it came out, I was barely like two years old, I think, at the time.
Really?
Yeah, but I still seen it because my sisters are 4 and 6 years old.
1994.
Yeah, I was 2. So my sisters were 4 and 6 years older than me.
We
So
was old, girl. We was old. No, I was kidding. I think I was like 5. All right, you remember the movie. No, it's good.
So I seen it later in my life, obviously, because, I'm not watching it as no newborn or nothing. But I loved it as growing up. That was like one of my favorite movies growing up. So when it came out, I was like, for sure I'm going to see it. Like Aladdin, still haven't seen that. Was not one of my favorite movies.
It was good.
I want to see that, and I was gonna see that.
I didn't even see Dumbo. Like, not one.
I wish I could have seen Dumbo. I just kept missing it.
I love
Aladdin.
Aladdin
was good.
Had me crying. I left there feeling
By
like
the
I was
end
a
of
princess.
it, by the end of it, you're really feeling for the genie. Like during the movie, it was like more Aladdin and Jasmine. But by the end of it, I was feeling for Will Smith. Like I was like, oh, God.
Did you?
Yes.
I left there feeling like, oh yeah, you are a princess.
That's so sad. I wanted to go see it, but then instead, it was out of theaters, and so I took myself on a movie date, and I went to go see Lion King by myself. And a lot of people, so I was skeptical about going to see Lion King for the simple fact that Facebook, y'all be promoting stuff for real. And you guys went to clients and stuff. Everyone was like,
that Popeye's chicken sandwich everybody want to taste.
ooh, girl, I cannot wait to taste that sandwich.
It was delicious.
That was a sidebar. But a lot of people had bad reviews
But they
on Lion
said
King.
that they took stuff out, and I was like, girl,
That movie looked just like it. The only thing that I did not like about it was
important parts.
no,
Oh,
they
you're
didn't.
saying like from the original?
Yeah,
I
they
didn't
take
notice
it.
that.
To me personally, they
It
didn't
flowed
take
perfectly to me.
anything out. The only thing I did not like is the cartoon with the eyes and stuff, because it's all about the eyes. Like with the realistic animals, they did not give me enough expression. There was not a lot of like picture, like drama to the voices, and so to me, I was happy with it, but it could not top the cartoon, because the cartoon, like, I almost cried when Mufasa died. But on the cartoon, I was crying like a baby. Like, oh my God. And you just see him, and then it's tears.
But I think it has to go with age,
Wake
though.
up.
Like, where you are and what
That
position you are in
they
your life.
said though that
If younger, you
movies
would
help
cry.
you.
No,
Yeah,
but
a lot
I'm
of
telling you, if
different
I
emotions.
watch it right now, I think I would still cry on that part because of the cartoon. But it's, yes, that part is very, like, sad. But I can tell you, I was getting all kinds of revelations. Like when Mufasa was on the hill and he told his son, he was like, a true king does not look for what he can take, but for what he can give. I was like, oh my God, Jesus, I love it. Like, for real. I was getting all, and I know I'm going to do this for my entertainment, but I was like, Lord, I need to start this.
That wasn't a lot to me. But what happened when Nala came and he like made that, decision, I'm gonna go back and help my family or whatever, and he was running through and the Spirit by Beyonce came on, I was like, oh.
I think it was the song.
It was the song.
It
It was
is
the
like
song.
when you watch a movie, it's usually the music
It's
that
the build up
gets you.
and
But yeah, you guys would have to watch it. To me, it was okay. Do I think the cartoon is better?
I just really want to see it because the place where movies are right now, there's not a lot of creative people in Hollywood right now because
They're
there's
remaking
no
everything.
reason to have to remake this many movies or come out with these whack second movies to classics. Like, you shouldn't have to do that. There should
I
be
don't
nothing.
think it's gonna be why, because whenever
Well,
they're about to
Incredibles 2
come out,
was a great.
And that was really
Great
good.
comeback.
But I do not believe in Coming to America 2 is going to be good.
We gotta see what happens though, because it's Eddie Murphy.
It's Eddie Murphy.
It's
first
Eddie.
of all.
Like that's the thing, because you see, like he
you
took
can't
this
think of any of his
hiatus.
movies that were back.
Haunted House.
I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
It was a movie. No, it's a Disney movie.
Imagine that.
No, I'm saying, hold on.
But you're talking about things that's probably on TV, like that didn't hit blockbuster.
No, Haunted
They
House.
came out.
They have a whole Disneyland ride because of the Haunted Mansion.
But that's like October. That's haunted though.
No, but it's a permanent ride.
I understand
at
that, but
Disney.
still, it's not like it's still a Disney little thing. But I'm saying, as far as like Eddie Murphy, when it comes to his movies,
No, he do got some bangers. Yeah.
Yes, like if you
I'm not
just
saying he
go
doesn't,
through his
but-
history, like
And
most
I'm-
of his blockbusters, all the way from Boomerang. I don't even know what's before Boomerang. I just know Boomerang. That's what I know.
No, but Harlem Nights, Boomerang,
But you name it. Yes, these are great movies.
and then Life, but you're trying to make
That's
it seem
it.
like
No, he has way more.
He
I
has
know
a
it's
lot.
more, but I'm just saying you're saying back in that time, like that was a really great season for him. But
It's
But
not
that's the
no,
thing.
but
But
it
they
was
were saying,
great.
I'm saying, but they were saying like a lot of times, like because even when, shout out to the potty, but when Kevin Doe were talking about, they literally went over Eddie Murphy's history because he's coming out with another stand up, and he hasn't done stand up since Delirious. So he's now coming back, and this
I don't
man.
think he's still going
But wait,
to have
but
it.
wait, hold on. But that's
it's
the,
not about him. It's about the quality of the creators now to say that.
Okay, Bad Boys. You think 3 is about to be horrible? Same.
Let me not speak on Bad Boys because I wasn't rocking with 1 and 2 like that, so I don't think I should be able to have a
I
valid
don't know.
opinion
As
on
far
three.
as Disney remaking the movies, I've kind of always wanted that, and I'm about to be right up in there with my ticket on opening night when Little Mermaid comes out. Best believe. And she's gonna
yeah.
She's gonna be black.
She's gonna be black.
Definitely.
but that's the thing. I think yes, she's gonna be one.
She-
Is it
they're
Chloe or
remaking-
Halle?
It's
One of the girls from that
That's
dreads
it.
with Beyonce from Grownish.
Well, they need to come out with a black Pocahontas.
No,
Pocahontas with black
Pocahontas
though.
is
She's Native American.
So can she be Native American and black?
No, because
No.
a mermaid is a fictional character. You can make her whatever color you want. Pocahontas was a real person. Who
That whole is the whole purpose
She's
of
a
the
whole
story is
person.
about the Native
Well,
Americans.
then just put me in Pocahontas. Just let it be a black person acting Native American.
Girl, no.
I've heard people say stuff about that though. How they take these people and they make them these other races. Why not just book that race?
But they were saying that because it's a fictional character, you're now broadening your audience. Now
No, I'm
it's
not saying that, but how she said she wanted to just make her the Pocahontas. No, get a Native American to play.
Well, no, I'm saying, but
I don't know.
I'm talking
I'm
about for
excited for
fictional
Mulan
characters.
coming out too.
I love Mulan. I would go see
Mulan was amazing.
But it's
But-
coming out as real. So my thing is like what Disney is doing.
They're just.
I
revamping
understand
it.
they're like revamping it, but it's kind of what everybody kind of wanted. Because wouldn't you like grown up like, oh, I want to see this as a real person.
Mm-hmm.
So now that they're capable and have the ability to,
Yeah.
like to me, like why not?
I don't know if it's just the season.
Because
and
Beauty and the
that's
Beast
all
was
they're doing right
everything.
now.
It looked just like it. It was perfect. to me.
But then they're also
I
adding like extra information. I'm saying, but they're adding
I don't
extra
think so.
information that we can learn them. I'm saying, but they're
It
adding
wasn't-
like
Sorry. Go ahead.
they're adding like extra information. Like in the live action, we find out how Belle's mom dies. In the cartoon, you didn't learn that. In Aladdin, they're adding like those
I
extra.
haven't watched it.
I'm saying, but they're adding like the extra pieces. Even
Or
with
Snow White.
with Snow White,
You
they
get to know
they
the
spin off the
background
character.
when you
They're
come.
doing another.
Wait, they did Snow White already?
No, they did
They-
Maleficent.
They do have Snow
Maleficent
White.
is a part
For
of
Aurora.
That's Beauty and the Beast.
For
That's
Aurora.
Beauty and
But
no,
they did do a real
that's
Snow
Sleeping
White.
Beauty. Maleficent is from Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, but I'm saying
Yeah.
they did also do a Snow White.
It was the Huntsman though. It wasn't her real actual story though. It was
Oh,
Snow White
that
and
was.
the
I don't
Huntsman.
think was that even a part of Disney?
I don't know.
Snow White and the Huntsman.
Or was it a TV show?
No,
No, that was a movie.
Oh,
It was
They came
real.
out with the second one.
I didn't
Because that
see it.
queen was crazy, but then I think that was like. What,
But with
based
these
off
I think it all
real
started. I think it all started with wasn't it? It started with Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
She's like,
I love Alice in
come through with the flute or
I mean,
what?
come through with all the outfit changes. Oh my goodness, like
Wardrobe.
the wardrobe.
Let me be an Alice.
Okay, but even in that, like as they're remaking it, one, you see the creativity. There is creativity there,
It is.
but it's like I'm revamping and taking it to another level, and they're still adding more
Especially with
pieces.
Tim Burton.
Like with Aladdin,
You like-
Aladdin is still in the movie. They're adding extra pieces. Now Aladdin has a handmaiden, and there's another part of the love
Because
story with
you
Will
get to
Smith.
understand. You got to understand with Aladdin when he came in and like when he was presenting himself as a king. Like you didn't get to really see like the back part of.
Oh, see, I need to
And
see
then
that.
and then they go to the part where there's like a little mini party, and he's trying to talk to her, and then they have this whole
And
dance.
the reality of him being nervous and being in front of her and trying to like win her over.
And then he's like, oh, and then we brought you jam, and she's like, jam. And so then he was like, and then Will Smith was like, I've never been told this in my life. Shut up. and so I want you to see it because it's not even Will. And I was
watch it. I
think you should see it. It was
pay
good.
to go see it immediately.
Sidebar,
Yeah.
because you were talking about Alice in the Wonderland and Tim Burton. They're having a Tim Burton land come out here. It's like $35. It's going to be at the Neon Graveyard, so you can go through all his stuff. It's going to be here through like October.
Is Alice in the Wonderland theme?
No,
Or
it's
just-
Tim Burton.
Just
all
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton stuff.
Oh no, because he did what scissors.
Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah, no.
Nightmare Before Christmas, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. You don't like all
Tim
that
Burton is
stuff?
very.
Hey,
good.
I
Edward
just
Scissorhands
Tim
was
Burton
fire
and
growing up.
they when they come together, Tim Burton and
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
But Johnny Depp was Edward
Oh, Charlie
Scissorhands.
Chocolate Factory.
I know I didn't care for that was creepy to me.
That was a really good movie.
It was
I
sad.
just don't like he just got too many
Scars? Because he hurt himself.
no,
because he
just the
has-
cuts. I mean like for me the connection, like when I thought about Edward Scissorhands, I thought about Carrie. Like it's for me, no.
Oh, okay.
Beloved. It's all in the same. I don't do it.
Oh. Well, that was Blues Reviews. And
That was a
so,
really good one though.
yeah, so Lion King. I don't
I
know if you guys
I don't
thinking
know.
like, were you yay or nay? You could let us know in the comments below.
I
I
like
definitely am gonna go see it. It's
Yeah.
still on my list.
It's good. It was really good.
All right, on to Asia Educates.
Well, currently right now within the city of Las Vegas, the teachers are potentially planning a strike. So
Can you say that like?
yeah, because people are putting it
On social
on
media.
social
I've
media.
seen it already,
like
a
so
couple
what's
teachers
so what's
protesting.
happening is that like apparently with our pay raises, the budget has come down. It was approved months ago, and pay still hasn't been raised. And so there are some other factors in there, like he just like the superintendent, he fired the deans and then he rehired all the deans back into the district. And so
I
some of the
thought was weird.
was a
When they were
little
like,
weird.
I was like, who's
They
the
got rid of
disciplinary for the high
the
schools and the
principals.
middle schools?
the principals.
But then they just rehired them back.
They rehired them all back.
As
Did it
dean.
change
As
the pay
deans.
or something?
Oh, I don't know. But then my question is, does that change their retirement? But my question is, did you lose that position, but
But
he
I
kept
thought
you
they
in the
hired them
district?
as teachers. Like they had to go back and be teachers.
they
or
were
something.
supposed to, but then he rehired them back as deans.
Oh.
And
Some
so,
shady sound like it's going on.
but that's the thing. So we don't really know. So they brought the superintendent from Florida, and one thing about Vegas that we do a lot, even with our education system, we'll look at someone else doing something great somewhere else, and then we're like, okay, well let's replicate that. Let's try to do that here, and it doesn't always work. And for me,
It's fake.
it is what it is. I know that Superintendent Jara, wonderful person. I've heard him speak. He's great. In Florida, he gave his background and he's been visiting the schools, which is amazing. Wonderful. I've heard some of his initiatives. Great stuff. It's just that now the teachers are planning to strike because all these things are happening and the teachers union is not happy about it. And so with that, Nevada is a non-strike state. So, and it's a part of our contracts that we won't strike. So I don't know what's about to happen. I'll keep y'all posted.
So you have to be in the classroom.
Oh,
Obeying the laws of the land.
Because I just had this conversation with one of.
but they said it for like
Yeah.
September, like the second week of September. So it's not like now.
I understand, but I'm trying to make it relatable because our union, like some of our reps, are going around saying like contract is we're about to renegotiate. So for us, it's like when we say we're about to strike, y'all better strike. If you're not on probation, you better strike with us, or it's going to be hell for you people who do not join with the masses. And I'm like, well, who gonna pay my bills?
And that's the thing. What my boss was saying was, because my boss, she had an informational meeting. She did.
Strike if you're in a union.
But that's the thing. This is a non-striking state, so I'm putting that.
Which
I
is
have
crazy
that's
because
the-
they strike all the time. All our unions, especially like
But
I
that's
used to
the
work for the Cosmopolitan,
It's a
the
requirement.
culinary union.
When you
They
sign
strike.
that union?
That's it. When you sign it, they say
you have,
no.
you have to have it.
No, I'm saying, but when you sign it, you're saying I will strike. But for me, I still have that option, and the only thing that you can do with your union is kick me out of it. So my job, union. I support us banding together to build the teachers and to give us what's justly due to us. And my principal, she had her informational meeting and she was saying, I'm not telling you whether I'm for or against. And I have no hands in it. I think that, all teachers, support staff, we should all be paid more because of the work that we put in. And I absolutely agree. But when you tell me that that Superintendent Jara is saying there is going to be discipline, he said that he doesn't know what it's going to be. Some people took that as there won't be discipline. Some people took that as there will be. He hasn't stated what it is.
And that
so
is
for
my-
me,
That's I think I would be in the classroom
But I
teaching
think-
like A,
and
B,
for
C,
me,
D, E. We gonna learn today.
I'm going to be
But then
in
that
the
will have an
classroom.
effect.
But that's the thing, I'm going to be in the classroom because if I decide to strike and not take that day, that means that I have this label put on that day, and it means I didn't get paid like a no call no show. And so then when I go for retirement, if they go through my records and see that no call no show, they will then say, we'll see you next year. You're not retiring. You're not eligible because you took that.
So yeah, that was
I'm
not
not-
my.
Oh, they can
There's
extend your
consequences.
retirement for that?
Yeah. And it messes with
For
your
every
purse
decision
because everything
you
there's
make,
consequences.
There is a consequence whether you like it or not.
So you're like
So for my no with mine, it's either
good
way
if
because
you
they're
do that, if you
saying
don't.
as a union, as a whole, as us as flight attendants, we need to stick together, especially when it comes to this contract. So if a lot of you out there who there's no consequences that's going to be, or as far as the company, they can't do anything to you right now because they have to hear us.
Right.
You need to be in here with the flight attendants. But if you decide to not be here with the flight attendants gonna give you hell. So for you, it's like
So you're like screwed if you do, screwed if you don't.
right. And so I was like, well, have you guys considered like later on down the road when you start hiring more people in and would say, remember when you did X, Y,
Remember
Z?
he was out there striking?
Yeah. All right. Bye. So for me, that
that's
is
so
still.
scary.
I mean, I think that's not something that would happen within CCSD because we lack so many hundreds of teachers. Like our second grade, so again, budget got cut. We lost a second grade classroom teacher. We lost a second grade set of classrooms. So now each second grade classroom has 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 kids in it. I am
Which
third
if
grade.
somebody goes on strike and someone's still there, someone has to take their kids.
Right. And so for me, one thing I was like, and I talked to your sister, I'm like, look, if you leaving, you need to text me the day before. Because I need to know so that I know that I'm going to be responsible for your class. Because I team teach. And so I have a class, she has a class, and then we switch them. And then I teach my content area, she teaches hers. But if she doesn't show up, my kids are going to get spread out to other teachers. And I don't want that because I want my kids to be with me. So all my kids are going to be in my room and I'll then be responsible for 30 plus kids.
Low.
Right, and so, but then I'm like, you need to be on the same page and we need to talk about that. But in that, if they leave, we still have a deficit of at least 500 teachers. So I don't think that CCSD is going to be like, oh, you striked once, you're out of here.
Well, and I understand that because someone still needs to be out here educating.
Oh, absolutely. And that's my thing. I was like, I'm not going to strike because at the end of the day, granted, I get more money, but my kids missed out on 2 to 3 days worth of education. And now I got to go back and try to fill that in. Like I think they said in another state that they were striking. The strike lasted like a month. And one teacher was like, I don't care if I'm not getting paid. I'm going back to be with my kids because they need it.
For a certain extent, because even in the aviation world where they weren't paying TSA, and TSA was like, well, if you're not going to pay me, I'm not about to work.
Right.
And it did take more on some of the people because, I like having the benefits of being able to skip the line and go off to the side. And it did have an effect on us. So instead of me rolling up to the airport at 20 minutes before I need to check in, I'm now rolling up at an hour because you got 2 TSA agents in there trying to get people through, and then you got to come over to us and let us come through.
Right.
So it's taking longer and it's paying a toll on everybody. Even at one point, Congo he told me he wasn't getting paid because he had a government job, but he has a responsibility to protect.
There are certain government jobs where even if you're not getting paid, you are still required to go.
Right, but I mean, but no, those teachers weren't getting paid because there was something going on within the city. But
I do believe that if you.
But in that, I think that at the same time, like those teachers, if they leave the classroom, the kids are subject to mom. Everybody say hi to mom.
Hi, yeah.
Hi.
She
You're
just
being
totally-
really, really loud. But I love you, mom. You want to come join the potty? But anyway, but those teachers, they were going on strike for something else, and they all left the classroom, and then some of the teachers were like, "But my kids have gone without education, without a teacher, without learning for months." And for me, I understand the purpose of the strike, but I can't leave my kids.
But that pisses me off though when you think about the people who are up here who are making the decisions, who are not willing to budge because they know that these people down here doing the work care more than they do. So they're gonna wait them out no matter what.
Right.
They're gonna wait them out no matter what until that person down there is willing to be like, I love them too much, or I love what I do too much to actually stop. And so that's when they give in and nothing changes.
Right. I mean, but I feel like at the end of the day, that's always the complex, right? Until, like, even with, what was that show? Big Boss or Undercover Boss. Bosses were making decisions, and then the people were subject, like, I think when we were working at another company together, I won't mention the name. When we were working at another
If you
company
don't work
together.
there no more, you can mention names.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I don't want, because she was my boss, so I don't want them to be like, oh, and sue, defamation. Like, no. So at the end of the day, she, as my boss, she was like, well, they bumped up the number, here you go. And I'm like, but they're not the ones out here shelling out these clothes and unpacking and wrapping. And Sierra's like, Sierra on the floor with us, we trying to get this all done. And they're like,
And I'm supposed to be out there doing something.
she's supposed to be doing, but for us to get it done, she was like, but they increase the numbers. But for me, you increase the numbers because you want us to work harder so you can make more money, but you're not the one down here. So I feel like what really needs to happen is a lot of these, but I'm saying, but with the policy
stuff with
I'm saying-
however hierarchy goes, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, wonder if you guys think the same thing about this. Because even so, like, I've had,
Some started from the bottom.
but I've
started
had like
from
quite a
bottom.
bit because, you know, working in medical offices and stuff, I've had doctors basically say, like, the front desk, like, you guys are not needed. Your job is unimportant, which is funny because it's like, without us, your insurances wouldn't get checked, so you probably wouldn't be getting paid. So for you to think that my job is irrelevant,
Right.
it's all a balance. And that's why I'm so grateful to start at the bottom, because it's like you take a slice of humble pie.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they don't like to start at the bottom. And so when you just,
But they don't have to.
That's
yes,
a great
when you
transition, though,
don't start
when they
at
don't want to start at the bottom.
into, you know, and we're transitioning into our topic, which is millennials. A lot of people, they have these degrees and all of this stuff. I've heard some conversations, but you don't want to start at the bottom. Why is it that, especially with our generation, because we are all millennials, and that is in between the years of 1981 to some of the, some sites say about 1996 and others say until 2000, we're the microwave age. Everything has to be instant. And it's like, I went to school and I have this degree, so you should pay me right here. But now a lot of the jobs in the work field, they're like entry level, you need experience. And it's like, how do I get experience? By who you know. And so then you just get a society of lazy people. Like, I don't want to do this because you're not going to pay me, so let me make videos on YouTube to make some quick cash, and I'm going to do a makeup tutorial, or I'm going to do something to where I can instantly become famous when you look at most of these famous people, but the thing is, most of the people who are, you look at, what is her name, Jasmine Love, they've been doing this for a long, they started off on Vine. Mm-hmm. People started off making little vines and they got retweets, or even Kev on stage, like when
it took time though.
He started doing stand up too.
Yeah, so they started somewhere. I think Kev, didn't he say he started like way at the bottom?
Wait, like he was making videos like on his break time while he was working.
And so it's like, but he had a job,
right?
And a lot of people, I know quite a bit of people, where they, I'm gonna be a rapper, or I'm gonna be a singer.
That was our entire generation in high school.
I'm just like, how are you a rapper or a singer and you don't even have a job? Like, you don't have a job.
What are you gonna do for your start?
Your vocabulary is very minute. Like, you're not pioneering when it comes to you're not doing anything different when it comes to being a rapper. Like for me, in my time, it was more believable because you had like T.I. He was different. He came out with all the words and stuff like that, and he was very intellectual in his rap. You had, who was the other guy? Nelly. His was more.
His was more
booty to drill kind of thing.
Where are you going with Nelly?
What she was saying, but
he's from St. Louis. Yeah, so, but there was so many different. And he had the southern drawl, like that St. Louis drawl. Yeah. So they all had something different about them that made them stand out. Nowadays, everyone.
But they still put in the work. Like they did these little shows, and then all of a sudden you start getting popular. But that's the thing. I can't say we. It's more like because that's the thing. We all like work. Because that's it. For us as a group, we all literally work for what we have. Like we went to some type of school, some type of training, some type of like your course was weeks, months of if you don't pass it, you don't get paid. So you're doing months and months and months of studying to take one time. You got what was it, 1 shot or 2 shot?
You got 1 shot.
You got 1 shot, months of training, 1 shot. If you don't pass this test, you do not get paid. And for me, as a person, I think that as we eventually will bring up, as time goes on, we start to see like there's a delineation of all like moral code, work ethic, everything is coming down the train. Delineation means like it's gonna have like a slow breakdown, like you see in the 1950s,
yes,
in the 1960s, and the 70s and the 80s.
What is it? Okay, so me doing the research, they have the G1. That's the G1 generation, which was the generation, they call it the Great One. And so they were the generation of about 1901 to 1926. They're children from, so the children of the generation from World War I. So to generation World War II. So then, we come from that, and there's a strong sense of like loyalty, like I want to stay with you. Their thing, they had radio and airplanes were just coming about, but their main thing was like their morals. Ain't no way we having kids out of wedlock, or we're not getting married. If you're single, you're just single, and it was no like.
What are they called? Spinsters? The women who just older and never got married?
And that was just something you did not do. And even if your relationship was bad, there's nothing. We're married for life. And even with companies.
You still took care of her.
Yes,
like,
and then you
have
know
her
those.
on the side, you took care of her and her.
You just said a whole other
Yes, she did.
And then even so, like they were, even the generation, like they did not have like debt. They were when the older people, they like. Yeah, cash only, but they had like another account in the mattress. Hopefully nobody's still doing that. But it was like a mattress fund. Yeah. And they kept extra cash in their mattress. And then you just start going down the generation.
But I feel like as you go down the generations, I'm not gonna lie, like most of the people, like even in the 1920s, we as a country were still mostly following God. To be so honest, it's like you see the 1920s and then you see the slow breakdown and the further and further away that we get away from, because that's the thing, like even when they talk about like the old mothers of the church, like Dr. Poole talked about it, he said them old songs they would sing were based on the word. They were trying to live the word. Like they were, granted they might be in church, and I feel like as as church became something so trivial, something so
Complex?
no, not even that. Like the people's dedication to the word of God, not just church. Like I feel like as they diluted it and it became more religion, as it became religion, it started to become like now this is like I don't want to go to church. So at first the family's going to church, then it turns into the husband don't want to go to church. Right? I'm saying I get that, but then it goes to the husband and the kids, and then it turns into the wife. And I think as you see now in our generation, and the last generation, most churches are filled with women.
But if you look at it, like she's saying, options. Things came with more options.
I'm saying, but as the world became broader, as we're now
that's what I'm saying. Because
as we're
when you
opening
look
up like
at
the
it,
radio,
so the
and
next
TV,
people were the baby boomers. They said there was two different subsets. I'm going along with what you're saying. So there was two different subsets. They introduced television. Everything was more readily. And what did the baby boomers? This was things were starting to move. Things were growing. Women were getting jobs, i.e., becoming more independent. So then, what is that teaching your children? You're in that absent home with your parent. Your parents are now absent. Yeah. Divorce is now becoming a real thing. Yeah. Because before you had the silent era, but it was pre-feminism. But now, when the men went away to war and everything, and these women had to start getting jobs and supporting themselves, now it's, I don't need him. And it's like, so these things
more like,
continuing
I have the option to leave him now. Because at first before, I don't have to deal with the foolishness. Yeah. And so it was, and that's the thing. Women started getting into the workforce because there were no men to do it. Like the men were gone, so the women had to run those factories. The women, they needed women. They needed them.
In the Bible.
Because of the man. But I'm saying, but even that, like I feel like because things were being so open and because we were doing a lot more.
Ehud or Ehud? I said it right. Yes. Okay, see?
Good job. But either way, I feel like as the world became more open and even like with radio and TV, you start opening up the door to being able to see other things. Because at first, like in the 1920s, if it wasn't in your neighborhood, you had to walk to go see your friend. And the people that were around you, like even the first parts of education, I think I sent it to y'all. Like the people that were coming in, the first school was started so that people could learn the Bible. Because they said if you're not in your word, it literally was written in the text. Like in one of my textbooks, they were saying they believed if you're not in your word, the enemy is going to be able to trick you and con you. And so they taught them to read the Bible so that they'd be able to read their Bibles and stay within their relationship with God and within their religion. And so then as we started reading more things and we started reading Confucius and Buddha and other writings that were opening up the door, now it gives me those options. And so, yeah. Because I see the way she's looking at me, so I'm trying to bring it down to a stop. I don't know how to stop that yet.
What are you talking about? I'm just looking at you.
I know, but it feel like a bore inside of my head, like she's drilling a hole.
Nah, we're talking.
I don't know, but I feel like as the nation starts to get further away from God, that's when you start to see the delineation of work, morals, ethics.
It's all in the Bible.
I know, which is why it's
I was like,
crazy.
Lord, who is our judge now?
Right.
Who's the one that you're raising up? Like, thinking about it, like, even in time when you're saying how in the Flapper age, that's like one of my favorite eras, where
because the outfit.
Yes.
But that
always
is
the outfit.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cute is cute. And I love Friends, so.
Oh yeah, that's why.
I'm saying, but at that time,
I understand.
I like a stripper.
Yeah, they were the side girls.
But that's what she's saying. Like you're saying that was cute, but that was.
I was saying the outfits.
That was the part of the rebel.
That was the part of the rebellion.
That's the bad part. Like all this stuff. Like if you look at all of it, even when I'm reading like Chronicles and Kings, and you're like, what am I leaving my seed? What am I leaving my seed? And with each generation, it seems to get the rebellious part becomes bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, and I'm saying you see our rebels. It's so many rebels around us nowadays.
Because it's cool to be the rebel now.
Kind of
glorified.
No, I'm saying like if you watching TV, when you watch Boy Meets World, who did you want? Who did you like?
Oh, everybody likes the
No,
bad boy.
I like Sean. Sean.
Did you?
Yes,
Everybody
because
likes the
everybody.
bad
But I'm
boy.
saying, but why does everybody like the bad boy?
I fell in
Because
love
he
with
was the one.
Topanga.
No, I'm saying.
Her big hair.
No, I'm saying we didn't like Topanga, but you wasn't lusting after
But
Topanga.
she
I
was
did
always,
not-
but she's pro woman everything. She's not looking at the dude.
I was not
like,
always
Well-
pro woman, okay?
But you chose Topanga, who was pro woman everything. She said she was gonna be the first woman president, and she was gonna take over the world.
I don't remember any of that. I just remember that she was just so cute, and what's his name loved her, and I wanted to be Corey, and I wanted to be a Topanga in somebody's life.
Right, but anyway. So with Sean, like originally,
Her name was
like
unique.
it was.
Topanga.
But when you look at like just even the TV shows, the bad boy was the one that was always like there's always like that
But
one
it's
bad
the
boy.
women though.
I'm
'Cause
saying-
women want to save people.
They do. It's a part of the innate nurture. But that's the thing. Now, instead of the classroom having one bad boy, now then it went to being from one to him and his little posse. Then it goes from him and his little posse.
No, it went
to
from
a bunch
bad
of
boy
pockets.
to class clowns.
No, I'm saying no. He went from the bad boy was usually the class. I'm saying the bad boy. The
Bad boys and
No,
bad
the class clowns.
Somebody.
Bad
That's
boys
two
are
different
people.
people.
No, I'm saying, but that's the thing. It went from because the bad boy in class was the class clown, but until
No, he wasn't. The
bad boy
bad boy.
wasn't.
so Sean wasn't the class clown.
You think I
You're
can't rock with
thinking-
you on Boy Meets World. You gotta give me a different show.
I'm saying, but like in
I know,
any
bad boy.
okay,
Okay, go back to Happy Days.
that was his sneeze. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Let's go back to the Happy Days. Fonzie
No.
was the bad. That's too old.
Too old.
Too old for her. Okay, Roseanne. Did you watch Roseanne?
No.
Okay, so with Roseanne, right? Did you want a David or did you want a Mark? And they were brothers.
I like Roseanne.
Y'all watch
Funny.
Friends? Who's the bad boy in Friends?
Joey.
Joey.
And most of the women like Joey.
But
the
Chandler's a class clown.
I'm saying, but that's the thing.
People wanna
But Chandler,
change.
I'm saying because they made the delineation into the two separate people. But Joey wasn't the bad boy because Joey was the ditz. He wasn't the bad boy because he
was
chose
a bad
to
boy
be.
because
The
he
bad
was
boy
always
is
the
already
woman
dead.
chaser.
He was. Well, this is true. What I'm saying is, now it's
You're
not
not the
this
same
thing.
person, though.
I'm saying, but that's the thing. In class, the bad boys. I feel like they start off as the class clown and then it builds in rebellion.
But you cannot say the bad boy is a class clown because the bad boy is incognito. He does not
I
want to
think-
be seen.
no.
He's the one chilling after school or on his
Ditching
bike,
class.
ditching class, not trying to be seen. The class clown wants
Was the one
attention.
who wants the attention.
I'm saying, but
and
yeah, and I feel like he wants the attention to the point to where eventually, like you seek it so much that you become the bad boy because you start getting the repercussions
But
from the
you're
teacher, and then it
thinking
builds.
saying as a bad kid and
Yeah.
bad boy are not the same.
No.
Boys and kids. For
But I think it went from being a bad boy, and then now it's not just a singular thing; it's more of a group of things,
Yeah.
and that turned into class clowns.
But I mean,
Crazy
but now,
thing is,
but now the
now,
class
like,
clowns are beyond
I'm not
that.
just my generation. Like even so, like you had the bully. It was used to be just like
The jocks were the bullies,
not all of them,
most of them.
but not all.
They were more central to bullying.
But I think that's
But we
funny because
did.
even if you go to like different parts, because my school, we had jocks, but they wasn't bullies. And
The
I
jocks-
graduated
well,
in 2007,
you know
so that
what?
was like about 12 years ago.
I don't think
Yeah,
I
and
don't think the
rulers
jocks
of
were
the
the bullies.
school,
I think
like,
the jocks were the ones who ruled the school with the cheerleaders because they were the cool kids, and then they
We didn't
on
have that
TV
type of
they
bullying.
made them. I'm saying, but we didn't. Yes, you were cool kids here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She thought she got bullied because the darker girls didn't like her.
But I think they didn't like her because she was pretty.
Yeah,
Right.
you said that. Like they used to try and like.
Well, no, I mean,
make
as
fun of
an
you.
older, yeah, they did try to fight me like a girl.
I'm saying, but they did because they thought you were pretty.
I never said that though.
I'm saying,
That
I'm
is what
saying
it
that. I'm
is.
saying that.
Have
That's a
you seen
jigaboo
me?
wannabe thing.
Have we seen you well?
And no, I don't know. I think I grew into my look.
Sierra, you said that you came back your 16th year with clear skin and long hair.
Oh yeah, I did grow. I grew up in high school.
Exactly.
But that's what we're saying. So we feel like now that there's this transitional change, even on TV, like seeing the bully is the cool kid. Everybody wants to be the cool kid. You don't want to be the normal kid.
Nobody wanted to be the bully.
No. I'm saying on TV. Because a lot of times, a lot of times now, kids aren't going outside and playing. And now you have a TV. So you sit in front of the TV, and what are you ingesting from the TV?
It's millennials to generation.
It's not even TVs now. It's just social media. You don't need a TV.
No, I'm saying, but now it's social media. But I think that it started with TV because originally kids weren't walking
Our
around.
generation is TV.
I'm saying, but they started. I think they started. I'm saying, but I think they started. I think they started with TV because they still have their TV shows that they watch. But I think that they now have
streaming though. It's not on.
I think that might have been started.
No, I'm saying, but even I'm talking about like just the television shows. Because on the television shows, like even with one of the little girls from church, her mom said that she had to stop watching Sophia because she was starting to act like the mean sister Amber. Mm-hmm. Because Amber would be mean to Sophia because she was dealing with her dad issues and how she really wanted her dad to herself, and now he's trying to love Sophia, but her daughter was starting to act as a 3-year-old was acting like Amber, being mean to her siblings. So for me, as they're watching this, as they're taking this in, we don't know what personality you're going to be drawn to. And so now you go to school and now she's being mean to other kids. Well, I don't know why she's being mean to other kids. But her mom was able to pick that up at 3. So now she knows this is something I need to watch for because this is something that you were doing. But what for the parent who's not paying attention to their kid, what do they know? But I feel like it's more prevalent on TV now.
No, we're still talking about millennials because that she was making the distinction between, you know, our generation growing up on TV shows, and the next one growing up more on social media.
I don't think I grew up on TV shows though.
Because I feel like as time goes on,
we stop going outside.
Because
I used to go outside.
I used to. And then as I hit like maybe 11 or 12, I didn't go outside no more because we didn't, our neighborhood, once my best friend, her name was Janelle. Once Janelle moved away, and I would go outside and play with the next door neighbor, but I mean, her kids were too small for me to play with. And I tried to ride my bike around and find some friends, but nobody was there. So I sat inside and watched TV.
I guess because I was very active in school because cheerleading I was outside on the front porch.
I didn't participate in school like that. Like I had my friends, we were real cool, like at least high school wise. But when I was younger, I used to get a new friend every day. I mean, a new best friend every year because whatever happened with moving and all that kind of stuff. But I grew up on TV.
Yeah.
And
in that,
a lot.
And TV, it starts to teach your kids their morals because you're not doing it. Most parents don't sit down and teach their kids work ethic. Most parents don't sit down and teach their kids.
Couldn't do it in that time frame because
they had to go to work.
And so you have a lot more. As the generations went on, you had a lot more single parent homes.
Yeah.
But
that started again in the 60s because.
Were those baby boomers in the 60s?
Well, I mean, because a lot of the laws were saying
was when they were actually in the house.
Well, no, because in the home they started saying that if you have a mother and a father in the home, if the father's in the home, you will not get you won't get aid from the state. So then it turned into he can't live here for us to get aid because we're not making enough to support our family. So you couldn't get Section 8 or food stamps or none of that if it was a 2-parent home. If the man was in the home, the woman couldn't get any support. So that's when that's when men started to get kind of we're not gonna get married. We got kids, but we not.
Also, it's less marriage.
Yeah, or he wouldn't be there. One of the girls I used to know, her mom was on Section 8, and she had her and her 3 kids living in the house. But her dad, he was paying for a lot of the groceries and things like that, but they couldn't put him on the house. Mm-hmm. The mom wouldn't marry because they had got a divorce. Then they got back together, but she was like, we can't get married because if I marry you, then that's going to add your income to our home. Mm-hmm. And if it adds your income to our home, then
we lose the support.
We lose the support. And so I can't.
That's crazy because what's wrong with losing the support?
Because my rent is $75 a month.
And sometimes though, it's still with him. They don't have enough.
I don't even think that's just the fact of.
No, I'm saying my rent going from $70. Hold on, but my rent going from $75 to because they were renting a really nice house out in Henderson. My rent going from $75 for this 4-bedroom house to going up to the $1,000 that it should be if I add him.
But with 2 incomes,
They don't work. The moms don't work. If they're on assistance, she can't.
She can't go to work.
Can't.
No, because
She
no,
can.
she can up to a limit.
Oh, well, that's too.
Like even with food stamps. Like one of my little cousins, she gets. Never mind. That's somebody else's personal business. I can talk about an old friend who I don't talk to no more. Family members is a little much. But even in that, like you can't. Like even I'm not gonna lie. When I was first in college, I was on food stamps. But they were like trying to coach me through what to do, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, because then if I do lie and they find out, then I gotta pay all this money back, and I'm not doing that. So they were like, well, the lady called and she asked, she said, are you part time or full time? I said, well, I'm part time right now. She said, I would suggest you go get more classes. I said, okay. So then I waited 2 weeks, got more classes, reapplied. She said, okay, now that now you're a full time student, we can do this. If you're a part-time student, you have to work at least 20 hours a week. So then I'm like, okay, I'm a full-time student. Then she was like, well, do you live in the home with someone else? And I was like, yes. And she's like, well, do y'all prepare y'all food together? I was like, no. They buy their groceries. That's why I'm calling you, because I need groceries. Mm-hmm. And so it's like there were so many stipulations to go along with that. And in that time period, even for those who were minorities, one, it's already hard to find a job. It's hard to find a good paying job. And then on top of that, now you're telling me that I can't have a husband if I want to take care of me and my kids, because if I have a husband, but both of our paychecks we are asking you for assistance for a reason. Yeah. And originally, assistance was assistance. It was a help up, not a living status. So yeah.
But then you got to think about the generation of millennials where we grew up is different from the latter generation, because we had jobs. Well, I particularly didn't have a job at 16. My sister did. Yeah. They started working as soon as they could start working.
Well, when we were in school, they used to offer credits for you getting a job. And so in high school, there was a lot of kids over the summertime getting jobs, and there were like more job programs. Mm-hmm. They give you like one credit if you got a job over the summer. But even so, like, they don't have those kind of job programs to motivate kids. Like, I know I got my first job at the art center, but it was through Nevada Powers. And so you would go up there, you would take this test, you would complete your hours of whatever you have to test in or whatever, and then they would give you a summer job. And so my first job was in the 9th grade, making my own money. Because even though and of course it's predominantly for kids whose families don't have like as much money, but there was Nevada Partners and there was like Nevada Powers. I think I went through Nevada Powers, but Nevada Partners, they also offer kids jobs. At school in the summertime, they used to have a summertime part-time job list, but as you look at it now, even working at Starbucks, like the 16-year-olds are unreliable. Like before I quit, like they were unreliable, and it's not because of their school schedule. It's because a lot of kids, it's because of how they're raised. It's like, I want to do this for a moment, but it's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be something like, because a lot of people look from the outside in, and then they're like, oh, I don't want this. So how do you condone good work ethic when there's barely no consequences for that?
How do you condone it? Pay people more money.
But these are 16-year-olds. You don't have no work ethic. Why are you calling off of work? Why are you coming in late?
No, but I'm saying for those who are older, if you had more people, more individuals, because I know there's so many people out there who don't have jobs.
But are they applying themselves to get jobs?
But if they're applying to go get these jobs and you're being turned around, although it says help is wanted or we're hiring, and you're not hiring these individuals who are willing to work, and you're not paying them enough, but you want to bring in the...
You know why? I feel like fast food places hire kids because there's not enough adults who want to do it.
It's high. Well, I would say it's a high turnover. You can quickly get them in there.
But I don't like jobs with turnover stuff, though.
Yeah, me neither. I don't want a job that with a high turnover rate, but then it's just like...
But high turnover is not necessarily firing. It's people quitting.
It's people quitting.
And why do they quit, though? It's because how you're working.
It's because how your work ethic. Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
It's not that work ethic. It's how sometimes it's managerial.
I think it's
so, like, even the managers.
But not. But I mean, but even
the person.
I mean, but even in that, like,
I stayed at Starbucks
you're gonna go through some stuff no matter where you go.
I stayed at Starbucks for about
but if I don't
8
have to
years.
work, if I don't have to work, I don't need this job.
I say
That's
that's
why I can rely on a government assistance.
No, even with your parents. I'm 16. I don't need this job. I got this to maybe have some extra money, but I mean, let's be honest. My mom is taking care of me.
Would you want your
No, that's different though, because my sisters, they felt like they had to work if they were going to get certain things. I did not. I was getting money because my mom had passed by that time. I was getting Social Security.
Right.
I didn't get a real full-time job until I was 19.
Right, but what I'm saying is that something else was funding your life. But what I'm saying is for these 16-year-olds, like for certain people, I have to work, so I'm going to work. If I don't have to, I don't. I know one person
doesn't have.
I'm saying right, they don't have to because there's something else or someone else to take care of them. So
she don't got to.
Who?
But she has 2 jobs. Well, she had 2 jobs. It's all about your motivation and your means and your will to want to work. My brother, he needs a yeah.
You see that thing? Yeah.
But no, like some of my little sister, she has her first job, but she wants to afford certain things in her life, and so most definitely she's going to work for it. It's the motivation behind it.
Right.
If you don't have motivation, even these kids now, they don't want to go to school. They don't want to go.
A lot of them don't go to school because they think, "Oh, I'm gonna get on YouTube. I'm gonna make money that way."
But then also nowadays you get a 4-year degree and you still start from the bottom.
But what kind of degree are you getting? A lot of people don't logically think about stuff. I know quite a bit of people
liberal arts
with liberal arts degrees.
Hold on.
But your degree, are you working in a job with your degree? With liberal arts degrees, you have to be either an entrepreneur or somebody super motivated to go get that job. If you are not, then of course you're not going to get that job. I want to be a fashion designer. You have to start from the bottom somewhere. You have to go work in somebody else's house. You have to become somebody's personal assistant to even get a chance. I'm not motivated to do that. I want to get in my job now. And if I don't, then I'm going to do something else. To me, personally, if I'm not motivated or goal driven and have the ambition to do that, do not get a liberal arts degree. Do not.
But
I mean, the
person who wants to go to school and get an art degree, that is.
But you have to understand,
because why would I go try to get something in biology or anything along those lines when I know that I don't. That's.
But you have.
You have to look at the monetary value of your work. Like that's the thing. As a teacher, I know I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
A lot of people don't think like that.
You don't. As an artist, there's no guarantee. They always say hand to mouth. Like it's the artist struggle, and everybody knows it because you're putting out your work, and you're not getting it done. So what they do is they stop the work. They stop funding this dream and they just go get a regular job. But what some people who make it from the bottom do, I'm gonna go get this job, but I'm still funding this dream here. I'm gonna get a job because I gotta pay my bills, but I'm still funding this dream. They're not doing that because that takes too much work.
That's my problem. You can get your degree, whatever you think or whatever your dream is and whatever your ambition is going to do, get your degree in that. But don't miss reality in the fact that you're not going to always get a job right away in that degree.
Right.
So if you don't have that ambition to want to make money that you need to fund your life, there's the whole disconnect in that with these certain generations.
Yeah.
Because you have this degree, you think you have this degree and you're supposed to work in your degree.
But the fun fact about that, and this is the thing I feel about colleges, what we don't understand is our generation is the generation with the most debt as far as school goes. Because people are going to go get degrees like that.
We got hoodwinked with degrees.
But my thing is, even in that, one thing that our generation saw, like rap was very popular coming into the 90s, and then coming into the 2000s. Like the rise of Soulja Boy made everybody want to be a rapper. So now I don't have to apply. Hold on.
They've been wanting to be
I know, but I'm saying, but before
the way he did
it, I just got to put some videos up on YouTube. I just got to do this because because he did it, I could do it too. But that's the thing: the Lil Waynes, the Jay-Z's, these lyricists went to school for that. Tupac, lyricists, went to school for that, so they applied themselves to this
or
study.
educated them.
They
No,
went.
Really went to school?
Yes, he got a degree in music.
I think he has his master's.
He has his degree in
Not
music.
all of them. I won't say all of them.
No, I'm saying specific. No, I'm saying, but specifically as a
Like,
lyricist,
right.
everybody wanted to go. Everybody was like, "Oh, I want to be the next Lil Wayne." But Lil Wayne went and got a degree in music so that he can lyrically be the lyricist that he is. But we don't want to do that. I see that you, like she said, I see what you have and I want it, but I don't want to. Pastor Frazier, you help my point right now. I see what you want. I see what you have. I want it, but I don't want to do the work for it.
You have to go through the process.
There's a process you have to
A
go
lot of
through.
people don't
And
want
Lil
the
Wayne,
process.
Lil Wayne went through that process. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, you became a
It is
YouTube star,"
discouraging.
but
You can't
even
say that process. Quite often, the process can be very discouraging.
it can. How bad do you want
It is.
You know how
do you
long
know?
that
But
was?
my thing is, do you know how long it took me to get my degree? A 4-year degree took 11
But you
years.
obviously really wanted it.
Exactly.
But
I
nobody
wanted it.
has
I
that-
have that
no,
drive for me to
That
go
drive,
get it.
that
But
ambition,
so-
that fortitude.
Because that and the thing about it is I'm not in nobody's
But I do
hospital.
believe that
I'm
has
not
to be
doing
taught
anything
sometimes.
like that. That it is not taught.
It's not always taught.
For
not
some it
right.
does, especially in this generation or
It-
those. Yes, because
See, this is our generation.
I'm saying- I
They have
understand
to
it,
be
but
taught to
it's
you to
different
have a
for-
drive to do something.
yes, because you're
Your
going through,
life should
but
be
you're
able
going
to
through school
experience
now
that.
where I want to pass you to the next grade, although you didn't work hard enough in this grade to get to the next one.
And then you go and get knocked
so
down by
no one
life. So
had
that
to
should be your
be. So I'm
drive.
saying no one that shouldn't.
Everybody's not born with hustle. You
No.
are not taught hustle. If you don't have hustle in you, I don't have hustle. My dad used to get so mad that I ain't had no hustle. Cause
I don't have no hustle in me, but I do know I need
You
a
got
job,
hustle.
So I'm gonna
You have
hustle.
You
You
have
have
hustle.
hustle.
So
You had
hustle.
several
I'm
jobs.
sorry.
I didn't do that. I've been braiding hair since I was younger. And I taught myself how to do it. And I'll be around the neighborhood braiding all these little boys' hair, and my dad would get mad, like, make them pay you. I'm like, no, they're my friends. I'm not gonna make them pay me. When I was in school, going to work, and then Ubering after, that was the first time in my life that I was like, oh, you out here hustling. But I didn't have that in me until I needed to have it in me. You gotta wait.
I've been having it this whole time.
No, you shouldn't drink so much. Every gotta go to the bathroom. She gotta wait. But we do need to
Well, you
come
told
down.
them
though.
now. I have to go.
But we do need to come down because we need to respect people's time.
Yes.
But yes, well, that's our topic.
Final, let's concluding thoughts on millennials. How about that? And let's-
Okay.
Go ahead. So my concluding thought on millennials, as a millennial, I feel like I'm in that part of millennials that has that ambition, that drive to go and get it and not have that nepotism to say that I deserve more than I ought to. Do I believe that I deserve to get paid? And that, I think my nepotism comes from Christianity. That's what I'm going to say. I think as a Christian, I should not have to deal with certain things, and I should be able to find different things and do it in a way that I don't have to put up with a whole bunch of stuff that I don't think I should have to put up with. And I don't think that comes from millennials.
Huh?
I think that comes from being a Christian. But because I believe God has more for me than sitting here getting cussed out by somebody. Okay, go ahead, Sierra.
Go ahead, millennial.
I love you.
Well, me, from the perspective of, I'm in the earlier, in the beginning of the millennials, it's kind of sort of.
81 is, you're 87, you're not.
You're 7 years into it.
Okay, 7 years into it, but it's
Okay,
still
go ahead.
being
Thank you. I
around
love
the
you. I tried. I'll come back. You finish.
Go ahead.
But I know that I am not the person who, I'm not a hustler whatsoever. Like I'm not the kind of person who is going to go out there and get like 6 different jobs. And I say that from the perspective of, I don't see that in the Bible. So why must I have to go out there and get so many jobs for?
But you say Bible, you always make it the Bible, but before you
said
became a Christian,
you don't believe. Okay, so here's the thing, because a lot of people say like,
Before I
oh, so
became a
you're a
Christian, I didn't.
Jamaican and you have so many jobs, but the thing
I
is,
don't think it has nothing to do with
I
it.
had
Well, that's just the culture.
literally people work 40-hour weeks, so you had one job. My job was 40 hours probably, but it was just split into different locations, different jobs. I don't see that being anything wrong. Now, if I had 2 40-hour-a-week jobs and doing extra stuff, that is where the problem lies. But my 3 jobs were pacing together one job. So my 3 jobs equaled your one job. They were just at different locations. And so that's how I feel about that one. It's not because, oh, you have I'm going to make the amount of money that I need to make to afford my living if that comes in breaks because school was priority for me. And if that work schedule did not go with my school, then you need to put me to part-time and I'll go get something to fill in that other gap.
I don't. And that don't bother me. I'm just saying from me, I'm not the person who, because I did at one point, did I have 2 jobs before I got really invested in my walk? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Adidas and Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But I dropped in Taylor eventually because why? I was invested in Taylor. Like I saw myself growing.
But you would be
dropped Adidas.
okay
I
to
dropped
be
Adidas.
at like 15 hours a week, whereas you had 2 jobs where it equaled 40
Because I
hours.
knew that, for me, I knew that eventually you're going to give me more. And I just don't want anything to interfere in me getting more.
Mhm.
Like, hold up, let me check with this other job. Like when I became invested, I sacrificed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it was that. And for me, as a millennial, I still don't want to accept the fact that I have to be in this group. But
But you're not a part of Generation X,
You're
none
not.
whatsoever. You didn't experience that hippie movement and all of that stuff. And the thing about it is we are so like harsh on millennials. They are ambitious. They're just lazy because the generation before,
they're
that's what
ambitious
they
for what
gave
they
you.
want. But I'm saying,
But that self-centeredness came all the way back from the baby boomers that led that to Generation X. That's when Generation X started going against the authority and everything like that. And that's when drugs and stuff started happening, so kids became self-sufficient and doing all of this stuff. That's when a lot of the rebel causes happened. And then you get us. So as far as being a millennial, I think a lot of times before I was like, I was thinking of millennials as these the younger
The
ones.
boppers.
Yes, the teeny boppers, but that's just not, that's the latter part. The latter part of the generation feeds into the next part of the generation. And so as far as me looking at millennials, my stand is for the next generation, what seed can I plant into their life to where I'm not leaving negative seeds and negative fruit for them to grow off of, but something that can help raise up the next generation.
I don't know.
Right,
Just
as
like
far as the generation of
big change.
lazy and my children, I want them to have those values that were instilled in me, because even though my parents did something totally different than I'm doing, I want you to be, not in a sense better than me, but in a sense better.
Another installment of We're Saved Too. Have a great day.
We're saved too. We're saved too.